There's a certain point when you know you're pretty good with money. You pick up an investing book and you feel like you have a pretty good grasp of what it's saying. You have a good understanding of how much you're spending each month. And your friends keep asking you about what to do with their money. So to celebrate your progress, let me share with you 10 signs that you're rocking it when it comes to managing your finances. And hi, if you're new to China, my name is Tay from Financial Tortoise, where we learn to grow our wealth slow and steady. The number one sign you're pretty smart with money. You actually find money and investing interesting. When you go to the bookstore, you find yourself browsing the money section. When you read the news, you gravitate towards business and money section. And when you hear someone talking about their asset allocation, your ears perk up. Or that could just be me. But if you catch yourself finding money and investing in general somewhat interesting, congratulations. This really is the first step to being smart with money. You don't have to be an expert with money, and you don't need a PhD in microeconomics, but a general interest will take you far. However, if you want to get smart with money, but find money topics a bit boring, here are a few recommendations to make it more palatable. 1. Join communities. Connect with like-minded individuals who are also interested in personal finance and investing. And this could be both online and offline. Online forums, social media groups, or local meetups to share ideas and learn from others. I've attended my share of personal finance and financial independence groups, and they're tremendously helpful in shaping my interest in personal finance. 2. Gamify money. Treat saving and investing as a game. Set targets for how much you want to save or invest each month, and challenge yourself to meet or exceed those targets. 3. Digest personal finance content in the format that most interests you. It could be in documentary format, movies, or YouTube videos like you're doing now. Don't make learning about money painful, because if it pains you, the probability is you can't sustain it for a long period of time. The number 2 sign you're pretty smart with money. You can develop your own financial plan. It may not be perfect, and it may not look slick, but it works for you. You can create a budget, basic asset allocation, and most importantly, money goals. Planning is another one of those topics that get a yawn out of most people. However, as we used to say in the military, failing to plan is planning to fail. When I was a brand new lieutenant, for every mission, I remember having to write out a very detailed operations order. What route we were going to take, in what order we were going to move in, and the backup chain of command if something happened to one of us. I remember thinking, what's the point of writing out all these details, and most often, things don't happen according to the plan. However, what I realized after time was that the goal of writing out these plans wasn't actually to create the perfect plan that we could follow to a T. Rather, it was the exercise of planning that was most important. It forced us to ask hard questions such as how much ammunition do we need if our route is 15 miles instead of 10? What are our contingencies if someone was to get hurt? In the same way, a financial plan forces us to face our current reality and ask hard questions. If I want to retire in 15 years, how much do I need to save today? If I can't save this much, what can I do to still retire? Push back my timeline another 5 years? Or should I figure out how to make more money? Following are some basic elements of a good financial plan. A monthly budget. A plan that shows how you plan to spend your money each month. You want to break out your spending by category so you can see in what areas you're spending the least or the most. Financial goals. This could be 1 year, 5 year, or 10-year goals. Are you planning to buy a home in 5 years? Or maybe one of your kids is planning to enter college in a few years. Investment strategy. Where do you plan on investing your hard-earned money? In broad market index fund or international funds? And what is your basic asset allocation? And note, a financial plan should constantly change with time because you and your life circumstances are constantly changing with time. The number 3 sign you're pretty smart with money. You have the discipline to execute your financial plan. Lofty goals and a detailed budget is great, but real magic is in the execution. What good is a great roadmap if you don't actually get on the road? But that is why this is also one of the hardest things to do when it comes to our money. Let me share with you a few tips to help you stay on the course. 1. Automate. Automate as much of your finances as possible. No matter how disciplined we may be, if we don't have a good system, it's almost impossible to sustain it for a long period of time. Automate your deposits, automate your bill payments, and automate your investment contributions. 2. Have regular money meetings. If you're single, just yourself is fine. If you're married, a meeting with your spouse. You want to go over how you're doing against the budget you set. Did you overspend or underspend in the category? And if so, what can you do? Do you need to adjust your budget, or do you need to create more guardrails to ensure that you stay within the allocated amount by switching to cash? 3. I highlighted this point earlier, but join a community of like-minded people. Your financial journey can be a lonely one if you don't have anyone you can connect with and relate to. However, when you're around people who are also trying to manage their finances and improve their money situation, their behavior and their mindset will rub off on you. In the spirit of connecting with like-minded people, for a limited time, I'll be opening up my calendar for one-on-one sessions, a time when you can connect with me directly as well as ask me any money questions you might have. If you think this could be a value add to your financial journey, please go to my website to learn more. I'll also have a link in the description below. Number 4 sign that you're pretty smart with money. You understand that being smart with money isn't all about just understanding charts and graphs. You understand the importance of psychology of money. Money evokes a lot of emotion. Fear, anxiety, greed, you name it. It's all there. And you recognize in order to become successful with money, you must not only understand the presence of psychology behind money, but harness it. For me, one that gets me often is this concept called herd mentality. The idea that we subconsciously look to others for cues on how to behave, including financial decisions. Just the other day when I was at Costco with my kids, my son kept pointing out how everyone was loading up on Gatorade drinks. At Costco, they come in these huge packs of 50, so they're quite noticeable when someone has it on their cart. I'm not sure why, maybe it has to do with some summer barbecue, but given we kept seeing people with Gatorade in their cart, it made me think, am I missing something? Should I get some too? I mean, mind you, I haven't drank Gatorade in years, but just seeing everyone with one made me think twice. It took me a bit to catch myself, but I had to tell my son, we don't need Gatorades. And just because everyone else is getting one doesn't mean we need some too. And then I went on to give him a 20-minute speech on the danger of herd mentality and how it could lead us to making bad financial decisions based on the actions of others.
20 minutes later.
I think I lost him when we passed the free ice cream sample station, but I was proud of the fact that I was able to resist the temptation to join the herd. So if you recognize some of these common psychology and money traits and are able to resist them or use them to your advantage, give yourself a pat on the back. Number 5 sign that you're pretty smart with money. In addition to being good with creating your financial plan, having discipline to see it through, and even understanding the importance of money psychology, you don't let yourself obsess about money. At the end of the day, money is simply a tool to enable us to live the life that we want. It's really no different from a car that takes us from point A to B, or clothes that keep us warm in the winter. Now, we can easily make money the center of our lives, like how we can do with our fancy car or high-end clothes, but that is totally up to us. If you live for having it all, what you have is never enough. Some of my favorite ways to mitigate obsession with money are as follows. 1. Limit exposure to triggers. There are common triggers that are associated with making us think about money more often. Most common ones in my books being social media that flaunts financial success. When we allow ourselves to consume social media posts about individuals making millions overnight and flying around the world in private jets and driving Lamborghinis, our mind will naturally gravitate towards thinking about them more. 2. Refocus our attention. Money is, again as mentioned earlier, just a tool to help us design the life that we want to live. But it's easy to get into a mindset that more money will make us happier. Only if I can get that new camera or the new car or that new home. But most often our greatest joy in life comes from non-financial elements, our relationships, personal growth, and experiences. 3. Gain perspective. I try to read broadly, not just personal finance books, but books on self-improvement, history, culture, and politics. Not only does this grow my mind, but it helps me to gain perspective that there is more to be thankful for than not. Just a few hundred years ago, the majority of the world population was barely trying to survive. So the fact that I'm not needing to worry about where my next meal will come from is something I shouldn't take for granted. Number 6 sign that you're pretty smart with money. You can poke holes in personal finance advice. There is no such thing as a perfect, all-inclusive money advice because everyone's situation is different. So when you hear someone saying this is a perfect asset allocation or why you should incorporate real estate into your portfolio, you can have a point of view for it or against it. Now, you shouldn't argue just for the sake of arguing, but when you can have a gentlemanly debate about a personal finance or investing position, you're pretty smart with money in my book. Some of the common debates that I hear often are these. Best way to pay off debt. Debt avalanche or debt snowball? Best asset allocation. 2 funds, 3 funds, or let's take it up a notch. 4 funds. Best order of investing for tax advantage accounts. Roth 401k or traditional 401k. Again, there is no perfect solution that will work for everyone because everyone's financial goals and situation is different. When you can have a good point of view about a strategy and why you agree with it or not, you know more than you might think. The number 7 sign that you're pretty smart with money. You can actually answer many of your own questions. If you're like me, when you first started on your personal finance journey, you didn't even know what questions to ask. Then after a little while, you know the questions, but need some guidance and handholding to find the answers. And now you're at a point where you can answer many of the questions yourself. You might still need to do some research. However, because you have a base foundation of personal finance knowledge, you can use the internet appropriately. Again, if you're able to do this, pat yourself on the back. You know a lot more than you give yourself credit for. The number 8 sign that you're pretty smart with money. Despite knowing a lot about money, you have the humility to know that you don't know everything. The world is constantly changing. New financial products are being constantly put out to the market, and there is no certainty that today's financial strategy will work tomorrow. Thus, you have humility, knowing that despite how much you know about money today, you could be wrong tomorrow. Vicki Robbins, the author of Money or Your Life, is one of the OGs of the financial independence movement. Her message on valuing your time is right on, but her investing strategy highlights how a strategy that worked for one generation can quickly become irrelevant tomorrow. In her book, she advocates for investing most of our money in long-term treasury bonds. But we have to remember that this was in the 1970s and 80s, when treasury bonds had really high yield rates, often yielding higher rates than the stock market. That is not the case today. Different times, different economies. It is only with humility of the fact that we don't know everything that will allow us to have an open mindset to want to learn more. A key characteristic to financial success. The number 9 sign that you're pretty smart with money. You continually educate yourself. The most important skill for getting rich is becoming a perpetual learner. You aren't satisfied with what you know about money today. As mentioned earlier, the world is constantly changing. So if you want to continually succeed with money, you must educate yourself for the world of tomorrow. Of course, by consuming good content. Some of my favorite resources to continually expand my financial knowledge are these. 1. Blogs and websites. There's so many amazing personal finance blogs and websites written by ridiculously smart individuals. Some of my favorite are Jill Collins, the author of Simple Path to Wealth's personal blog. The White Coat Investor. Even if you aren't a physician, there's so much good information in there useful to everyday individuals like you and I. Mr. Money Mustache, another OG of the financial independence movement. I know there are tons of others, so let me know in the comments below some of your personal favorites. 2. Financial news. Though you have to be careful which ones you consume. My favorite are the New York Times and the Wall Street Journal. Though you have to pay for them, I feel that if you want the best information out there, you shouldn't rely on free news. 3. Personal finance investing books. Despite how much I like blogs and websites, my favorite resource for knowledge is still long-form books. The amount of energy, research, and time that an author puts into creating one book is so much more than even a long-form blog post. In a time where attention span is distracted by 3-second TikTok videos, I feel long-form books will become more and more important in the future. The number 10 sign that you're pretty smart with money. You find yourself teaching. Do you often find yourself as the go-to financial person with your friends or at work? Do your friends constantly ask you questions about their 401k plan or what investment platform to use? Well, congratulations. Another sign you're pretty good with money. We can never have too many people teaching about money out there, so if you feel like you have a point of view about money that people could find value in, don't be shy about sharing. Money is a very sensitive topic, but we can get more people used to discussing it and sharing it. It can help to elevate all of our understanding of it. Thank you guys for watching, and in contrast to being good with money, if you want to learn some things we shouldn't be doing with money, please check out my video here. Until next time, all the best.